I am Lawrence Chuno, and this is Doing Jazz. Hello everyone and welcome to Doing Jazz. My name is Lawrence Chuno and this episode is with acclaimed vocalist and a good friend of mine, Alicia Olatuja. Alicia is one of the very few artists who have simultaneously navigated the musical worlds of classical music and jazz, and she has done so pretty effortlessly. She has done a substantial amount of work in theater and opera, has sung as a lead vocalist at President Barack Obama's inauguration, and has recorded and performed with legendary names in jazz, including pianist Billy Childs and bassist Christian McBride. Alicia has a caring personality which comes across even when she's on stage. On a more personal note, she has been extremely helpful to me. She's currently my vocal coach and has given me some very useful career advice. The song playing in the background is called Cerrado by Alicia Olatuja, featuring Christian McBride. Within the conversation, you will hear another song of hers titled Truth in Blue, and at the end of the conversation, you will hear her song titled Human Nature. These three songs are all from her album Timeless. After listening to this episode, you can learn more about Alicia Olatuja by going to the website of the podcast, www.doingjazz.net. And you can listen to more episodes of the podcast by subscribing on iTunes, TuneIn, or Stitcher. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Alicia Olatuja in your face.
Se o Senhor me for louvado, eu vou voltar pro meu cerrado. Por ali picou quem temperou o meu amor e semeou em mim essa incrível saudade. Se é por vontade de Deus, vai. Se pedir a Deus pelo meu prazer, não for pecado. Vou rezar pra quando eu voltar a rever todas as brincadeiras do passado.
Alright, Alicia Olatuja.
Hello.
Welcome to Doing Jazz.
Oh, thanks. What's it called?
Doing Jazz.
Doing Jazz.
Yeah.
Like as in the gerund. D-O-I-N-G?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what it's called. So we're at your place, at your voice studio.
Yes.
Where I call it the voice clinic.
It is. More like the voice lab.
Or the voice lab, or the voice confessional. Where I come to confess all my voice sins.
You're not alone.
All right. So thank you very much for agreeing to do this. And we're just going to vibe. We're just going to talk. And there's no
like we've
format.
been doing all afternoon so far.
Exactly.
Okay.
I should have been recording. Yeah. So you've been touring.
Yes.
Good. Yeah. I was able to catch one of your shows at Birdland. Mm-hmm. And I was very impressed. And I'm really glad I came.
Yay.
Yep. So I wanted to tell you this. I wanted to tell you that I took a lot from that show.
Really?
Yes. You know how you keep talking about paying attention to every note?
Yes.
Giving every note equal attention?
Yes.
I kind of knew what you were talking about before then. But then when I went to that show, and then I saw, okay, this is what she's talking about. Mm-hmm. You got to pay attention to every note. Mm-hmm. And you'll be surprised that there are a lot of musicians out there, I think, that they might be successful. People might be hearing their names, but I don't think they actually do that.
Well, you know? I mean, it's hard because I think when
I'm not trying to judge anybody.
No, I get it. I mean, I think not everybody understands the importance of that. Mm-hmm. And I think also sometimes we get confused. Not every note is of equal importance, mm-hmm. but I do think that every note deserves equal intention mm-hmm. and attention. So there are no accidental notes that you weren't really thinking about. You weren't really putting them in your body. It's like words. When we're expressing ourselves, not every word is of the greatest of importance. A lot of times we focus on the verbs, the nouns, and that's like the main thing that gives us the grand idea when we're communicating with somebody.
Yeah.
I saw, she ran, but we usually have a lot of words in between that help give a more descriptive application to those words and help you really understand what's going on. Now, the verb and the noun have greatest of importance so that you understand, but it's those extra words they put around it. She ran desperately. Early in the morning, she ran to the store with great pain and agony. Like all those extra words you put around it paint an entire picture and experience. Well, the same thing happens when you're singing. You have the parts that are, really challenge the voice, that if you don't actually anchor them in your body, maybe damage will happen. Maybe things like that will happen where you actually hurt yourself. So we really make sure we can nail those notes. Yeah. But it's the notes that happen before, and sometimes it's the notes that happen after, that really help us to give whatever it is we're trying to express through that particular note its power. So while I'm not going to blow all my air and volume on the word the, maybe the note after the is super important. So I've got to really make sure I sing the note the with intention so that I can then give all the importance and technical whatever to whatever this next word is that brings the entire statement to meaning.
And I just didn't see it it's not just in the vocals. It's like every note the pianist play, every note the drummer plays. I have to say, I really like your drummer.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember the drummer you had that day.
Yeah, Jonathan Barber.
Okay.
I will not remember. I don't know who that was that day.
I can't remember his name, but I know you have.
He's actually new.
He's actually new.
I mean, working with me. He's been doing his thing for a while, obviously. But that was the first gig that we had ever had together. And I was glad that we had 5 nights to actually really bond, as a new configuration of the band in a sense. Everybody else I've worked with before that was in the band. So it was really nice having that extra family member be joined, with us. And it's kind of like what it's like. It's like meeting a new member of the family. And then you get a chance to hear their story and through their music. And they're able to bring out what they bring out. So you can't ever really forget. Because it's really a huge impact when you have a new person, or just each individual in the band has his own voice and story.
Yes.
It's harder to remember like when you have the same band configuration and you switch it out for another band that you usually work with as well. And then that keeps going back and forth. And it's like, okay, well, I was with this person on the 3rd, but I was with this other guy on the 4th, and I was back with the other guy on the 5th, and then back. Then it's like, okay, that week I saw, like, you can't really be too specific. But when you're working with somebody, especially for the first time, you really, it like really sticks in your mind. Because everything changes.
Yes.
Everything changes. It's like like the first time you added lavender to your cookies.
Yes.
It's like the recipe has changed. The title then has changed. It's no longer lemon cookies. It's lemon lavender cookies, right? Every member of the band adds his or her special ingredient, and it changes the entire flavor. So I remember that particular drummer that week because he definitely added the lavender to the band that we didn't have before.
And another thing you keep stressing whenever I come to your place to get to confess my voice sins and get rectified. You keep talking about working a song into your body. What I saw that day is that I feel like you definitely worked all those songs are like in you. You know all the notes. Even though you're singing, you can point to every note. Every note is, I don't want to use the word intentional, but it's been worked to the point that even if you freestyle it, your freestyle knows where it's coming from and where it's going. You know where it's coming from or where it's going. And I saw that in in almost all the musicians. And your background singer he's actually not background. He's like
you came when there was one or two.
Yeah, when there was one, the guy.
Oh yeah, there's normally that you came the night where the other background vocalist or additional vocalist, as I like to call them. He wasn't there, and I really wish you could have heard both of them because they both have very different approaches, and but they both have the same excellence that you normally hear from a soloist. And I think that when people have a lot of background singers, sometimes they think that the background singers are less than the lead vocalist. But just like you said, these people, they have their own albums. They doing their own things. And they really add, once again, that extra something. They're not just pillows underneath your head. They're actually a part of your body, you know. So, yeah, they're very powerful. They have a very, very, very appreciated presence.
Yeah. And when you asked him to solo, I was listening to what he did, and what he was doing was coming out effortlessly, freely. But you could see that they are very meticulously anchored in his body and very rehearsed. Rehearsed is a good word. It's almost like he might be freestyling there with the notes, but he knows every note that's coming out of his body, just like you. Yeah. So I just wanted to start with my experience at the show.
That's so great. So I mean, because I don't normally get the chance to hear what people's experiences are. Well, I found out from my sister recently. Like she came to a show years ago, but then she was telling me about.
Don't tell you the
you know what? It's just we have so much other things. You know, like when I call my sister, I'm like not like tell me about my show. Like when I call my sister, I'm like talking about the movie I saw, or you know, the argument I had with, you know, my boyfriend, or like, you know, it's like I'm not like calling her to ask her about what do you think about me as an artist and what do you experience in the crowd. But she actually brought that up one day while we were talking about something else, and she went into detail, and it really shocked me, you know, that, you know, this an experience that I want everybody to have, and for somebody who knows me as well as my sister, to tell me something that I've heard that's consistent with other people who are really engaged in what's going on. It really made me so happy. It made me so happy because it's not about my relationship with her as my sibling. It's about the music and the music relationship to the listener. So I love hearing what your experience was like. Thank because you. I don't usually get the chance to hear that. You know, people don't have a lot of time to tell you. They're just like, oh, thank you so much. I really enjoy the show. I hope, you know, and because they got things to do. I mean, to be honest, they got a life. They've come, they paid their money, they saw you for 2 hours. Now they ready to go home and eat. You know, they're hungry.
That's my problem.
Right. Back to reality. You know, but it means a lot to me that when they come forward and say something, you know, with that limited amount of time that they have, it means a lot, you know. But a lot of questions that I would have, I don't have time to ask. Yeah. So I appreciate this.
That's good. That's good. All right. So, you know, I'm Nigerian.
I do know that.
Okay. And I damn near got into a fight with a Nigerian, trying to convince the person that you are not Nigerian.
That is so funny. What?
Yes. Story for another day. So where are you from?
Oh man. First, we definitely have to hit up that story later. I mean, really though, like, does this person know me?
No. I was like, I have a voice teacher that I'm going to. It was only we were chatting, and I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm about to rush to my voice lessons. And he's like, where you going? I'm like, I have a voice teacher. She's really good. And I sent a link and everything. She's like, oh, she's Nigerian. I'm like, no, she's not Nigerian. She's like, what are you telling me? She's Nigerian. Look at her name.
Was he Nigerian?
Yes.
Oh, you weren't going to get out of that one without another argument. Passionate people. Passionate.
Yes, we are. So let's go back to the very beginning. Where are you from?
Well, I was born in Washington State.
Okay.
Not D.C., the state.
Wow. And then black people from Washington State?
Oh, my God.
Well, Angela Rye. You know Angela Rye? I think she's from Washington State.
There are black people everywhere. You cannot keep us out. Yeah. You know, maybe not in Serbia and Croatia, but definitely in Washington State. My whole family, my father's side, is still there. And then I moved to Oregon for just a short period of time. And then I finally went and lived in Missouri with my mother and my grandmother. So, and my sister. So when my mother and my father separated, we moved to Missouri. We actually moved to Oregon first and then Missouri. Okay. So I was raised in Missouri for most of my adolescent life, even though, funny enough, I realized now that I've actually been living in New York longer than any other place. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, like you realize
the difference.
Yeah. And honestly, strangely enough, I never felt like a Midwesterner. I never had those types of ideals and experiences culturally that most people would have, because when you're in the music world, you're exposed to such a wide variety of people and cultures and races and dialects and languages through the music, through traveling with your little, choir groups in high school and junior high. So you're actually exposed to such a cultural diversity through music. And the thing is, the average person living in a lot of different places, if you're not living in like heavy city areas, you usually spend most of your life seeing the same types of people, same people who look like you, people who are interested in things you're interested in. And that is definitely not something you would necessarily experience so tough if you're living in New York City, right? Or Chicago, but even there, you have places where culturally and racially, you can actually spend your whole life in certain places and everybody speaks Spanish and you don't come out of that one neighborhood. Well, I think a lot of the Midwest, you have a huge chunk of land where you experience that. So there isn't the cultural diversity and racial diversity that in the Midwest, at least not in Missouri, that you experience in New York City. But being a singer and a performer, you're experiencing that all the time. So I never felt like I was from the Midwest. My experiences were never the same. I was singing like In Monte Olivetti when I was, these Latin tunes when I was like 10 years old. And I really loved the languages. I knew what they meant word for word, and singing, and language was always a big deal for me, and learning different cultures and races. Like that was important to me at a young age, and that's not a priority.
Where did that come from?
Through music.
Through music.
Through music, because music is the story of the people.
Yeah.
Whoever was the person who wrote it, whoever composed it, it's their take on reality. It's their artistic take on reality. And when you're seeing and experiencing all these different people from all over the world, you're singing songs by, De Falla, you're singing like Spanish tunes, and some of them are Castilian, and some of them are like different types of Spanish, and then you're doing Italian over here and German and French, and you're learning all these songs because you're in this concert choir in high school, or you're in this ensemble when you go to college. You're learning about culture, you're learning about history, you're learning about the era in which a lot of these tunes were written. And, so you're learning about social norms that were expressed through this music or through this opera or through. So when you're exposed to art, what you're really exposed to is the world. And that's why it's so important, because you may not have money to travel and spend, to go abroad like some, family that is very, very financially stable can do. If you're not in that type of situation, when you're, you're a single parent, household with she has 2 kids, and, she's a school teacher. We couldn't take summers in Paris and Spain, but I surely could just escape through music and experience just a bit of that culture through the music. Music is seriously like this key that opens up. It's like the skeleton key that opens up all the doors to all the different worlds.
How did you get introduced to this musical diversity? Is it through your parents, your mother?
Some through my parents. My mom, she was really into playing all different types of music growing up. I listened to Andre Crouch.
Is she a
and
musician?
Sandy Patty. She's not a musician per se. Like, she's never done anything where she would make a living from music. Okay. She loves music. She's a big supporter of music. She's an encourager of music, and she actually can sing. Okay. So, she's just very passionate about the art. But as an educator, she understands the importance of music as an educational and connective tool for people to learn about each other and about themselves, just like any great teacher would. And so because of that, it was always a huge part of her life and a huge part of my life growing up. So I was exposed to it through my mom's music. We used to play Handel's Messiah, right next to the Clark sisters. It was like always a huge variety of music. But when I was in school, even in elementary school, I joined the choirs.
Okay.
And we did music in other languages, and I just really found other languages to be really exciting. Just how certain phrases translate from one language to the next. I mean, and you know that, being Nigerian, sometimes the phrases, they're not even like, they're actually, they translate into like a proverb. It's not even like, it doesn't even translate into like just a random sentence. Exactly. It's like a proverb, which then has a meaning, which then has a story. So you're breaking these, you're getting down to all these different levels and layers, and that's fascinating. It's fascinating.
There's something I've noticed. Not lately, I've always wondered about this. I don't know if you could maybe corroborate this or say something in relation to it. I discovered that most American English songs are love songs, are connected to love in a way. The writers are maybe thinking about love, or even if they are using some other kind of metaphor, they are still thinking of love. It still ends up with love or breakup or something, like most of them. But in other languages, like in French, they could write about a tree that's growing or a bird that's flying out of a tree, or how that bird becomes free, and they're not even trying to connect it to love. It's just literal, like
life.
Just life, So I don't know why I brought that up.
That's really interesting. No, that's really interesting. And it's funny because I've never really even thought about that. And it's so right on. Like I remember, a Schubert song that was about like a fish that was like creating muddy waters whenever he would, the fisherman would try to catch him, he would muddy up the waters and make it difficult. And it was like just capturing this single moment and having an entire song cycle about it. It's just like, wow.
I feel like that's amazing. Yeah.
Well, that's really true. I guess. Wow. Well, I guess it depends on the genre, first of all. But love
even pop music.
I get it. But I think love is such a powerful emotion. Because if you think about it, people hate other people usually because they love something else.
Yes.
So like, let's just say like I love, I'm in a relationship and I love this person. Okay. If somebody hurts that person, I'm liable to then hate that other person for hurting somebody that I love, for taking something away from me that I loved, whatever that might be. If I love somebody and I desire to be with them, then I'm more prone to jealousy and things like that. Or I love music, but I don't get to do it as much as this other person who does. And so now I'm jealous of this other person. So love is like this really interesting emotion that's one step away from so many other emotions.
Yes.
And it's a very powerful one, and it's universal, even on an animalistic level. Just looking at a young animal or baby kitten getting taken care of by its mother. There's animal instincts, right? But the instinct is to see that particular life through. And it's because all living things love to be alive. So there's always this love and anchor that can connect to so many different other emotions. So it's easy to write about, I think, but it's also an elusive thing. It's a mysterious thing. And it's also something that's a point of obsession, I believe, in American culture. People...
I'm more down to, I think, the early industry of music. Also, like the early pop, early jazz standards, they were all about
romantic as all get out. My God, just super romantic, which is what we are not really so much now as a culture. We're not very romantic, but we still have these romantic ideologies concerning romance and relationships, which is just like, we don't have the infrastructure to sustain that, to hold that up. Everything's just microwavable this, microwavable that. We're not into longevity. We're not into struggle. We're not into actually fighting for, like, back when people say, I am the man who will fight for your honor. Nobody sings those songs anymore because nobody wants to fight for nobody's honor. But we love that song.
Yes.
And we want to fight. We love the man who will fight for our honor. But honor is not as important in the English culture as it is in like a culture in Asia. right? You know, they're all about honor.
Sense.
Do not dishonor your family. So many different cultures are about that. We don't care about that in America. We'll dishonor ourselves, you and everybody else. But we love that song that says, I'll fight for your honor, because it's so romantic. We don't have the culture to sustain that. So what you just have is a bunch of disappointed people who have, you know, who are finding themselves to be uninterested and disconnected to what real love is.
Deep.
It's true. Our culture is not made for the lyrics we love.
Yeah.
Which is why now our pop music lyrics are just becoming really stupid.
Yeah. I don't know if you call them stupid or maybe stupid. Maybe.
Well, not all of them.
Not all of
them.
them.
But there are some that are literally stupid. Stupid meaning they have no emotional depth to them. Yeah, which means you can't feel anything. And remember, the purpose of music, we were saying earlier, is to feel something.
Exactly.
But we have completely muted our feelings because we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to get hurt. So we just keep dumbing down and dumbing down and dumbing down our emotions. And with that, the lyrics are also dumbed down.
Yeah.
What is that? Oh.
I don't know.
So, yeah.
You went to college you went for music, but not in a conservatory.
I did.
Okay.
I did. I went to conservatory for my master's, but not for my undergrad.
Okay, yeah. Because I saw you did some math, and I know in the conservatory
I have a bachelor's of science degree.
Oh.
And then I
in voice?
It's not really in voice. I think so. Yeah, in voice. Bachelor of Science. It was really confusing because I had really poor advising, and so I ended up taking way more classes than I needed, and they just let me out. It wasn't even like I had way more credits than the average person. I was there way too long. They didn't know what they were doing. They just didn't know how to really advise me and tell me what classes I really needed. But I was there at the right time to really help me be able to get the most out of the music department there, which was great. But I've always been fascinated.
What school was this?
Mizzou, University of Missouri, Columbia. The school was great. It had a lot of different experiences. You know, I did take math and biology and physics and sociology and psychology. Like I found all that stuff fascinating. And at the time, I was going to music. I was going to school for veterinary medicine anyway. And then I switched over to music halfway through. I was like, I could do this.
Yeah. So that you decided, and then after that you came to New York for a master's degree
at the Manhattan School of Music.
Okay.
And that was great. It was a lot easier. So that was when you decided
I want to do music.
No. I figured out I wanted to do music my sophomore year of my undergrad. I just gave myself a 2-year time period where I said either I'm going to do something and it's going to matter and I'm going to feel like I'm moving in the right direction. But if nothing pops off, nothing happens, then I'm going to go back to veterinary medicine.
I see. Within
those first 2 years, I had some really incredible experiences musically that really changed me artistically. And really gave me opportunities that would just never would have happened. And the timing was perfect at the school as well. They were celebrating their bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition, being that Missouri's in the Midwest, and it runs along the Missouri River where the Lewis and Clark expedition happened with Sacagawea or Sacagawea, whatever people want to call her. They were doing an opera or an operetta about it, and I ended up getting cast as Sacagawea. And the show was going to open up in 2 years. So I had plenty of time to grow into my voice and to grow into the role. And then from that point on, I actually ended up getting casted in the professional opera debut of that particular show. So I did the world premiere. And then I went to Memphis Opera and spent 2 months there or a month there while I was still in school. And was the youngest principal lead that they had at that time. I don't know if they've hired any other principal leads since then at that age, but it was really nice to kind of be of something that was historic in both the actual production and also the casting at the opera company. So all those things happened that helped really launch me into Manhattan School of Music. So it all worked, but it was just a lot.
Because you sang at the inauguration for President Obama, and that was when I saw you.
Really?
Actually, So you sang at the first inauguration, the second inauguration. So like all the things you're saying now, it's all making sense because people that not me, but some other people that may have seen you there for the first time and then hear about you later will be saying, oh, she just popped from the inauguration, not knowing that you've been putting in.
So that's how it is, right?
You've been putting in the work all the time. Like, yeah. So, but let's go back to your band, your beginning or the time when you started thinking of performing, because you're classically trained from all your, from what you've been saying so far. But now your sound or the music you put out there is more of jazz, maybe a little bit soulful jazz.
Well, I was singing like other music well before I was doing classical. I mean, I grew up singing in the church.
Okay.
Gospel music. I always loved R&B music. I was singing R&B music all the time. I loved it. I was jamming out, to SWV and Mint Condition and Tony Terry and
Can
Whitney
I stop
Houston.
you there? Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry. I know you've warned me several times about this. Okay, before I forget, you did a cover of Human Nature.
I do.
SWV did it also. Do you know their cover? Is there a connection there, or is just unrelated?
No connection.
Okay.
Michael Jackson is like the connective tissue of all of us. No, I remember theirs.
I love their version.
Yeah, I remember there. But they didn't do a cover.
Yeah, they didn't do
They
a
were
cover.
doing a remix
definitely.
of Love Will Be Right Here.
Yeah, definitely.
Using the music of and then like some of the sampling in the background. So you got to get it right. You know what I'm saying? You're going to talk about stuff. No, I'm just kidding. So I loved all that music well before. I was listening to Mariah Carey and Brandy and all those people. And then I realized that I was having some issues with my register, and I wanted to actually explore my voice and see what it was capable of doing. And I found that by studying classically, I was able to do that the most efficient way possible, and actually really learn some technique underneath so that I could explore my voice without hurting myself. And so that's pretty much how I started studying classically. It wasn't that I was planning on having a professional opera debut or singing at Carnegie Hall and Kennedy Center. That stuff just came along with the timing and also with the hard work I'd put into shedding the genre. But that was almost like a bonus for what I was doing it for. So when I graduated, I pretty much just went back to a lot of what I was already doing, but now with this new skill and this new foundation of technique to really fully express what I wanted to do in those other genres that I couldn't do before because my voice just wouldn't let me do it.
I want to talk about your music.
Okay.
I'm going to start with the songs I like.
Oh, God. Okay.
Okay. I don't know their names, but I know how to get to them.
Oh, Lord.
And I know how to hum them. Over and over again. That's all. That's where I'm going to stop.
Truth in Blue.
Truth in Blue.
Yes.
Yeah, I really love that song.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I like the bass line. When you start, the song starts by you humming the bass line, like making the bass line. Dum, 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 dum.
Dum, 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 dum. I stand and wait on the water's edge, never knowing where I began. But here I am in a memory. Tell me the answer. Reciting words of a melody everybody's heard before. Growing older but never the wiser. Think it over. Over and over again. happening. My hands are tired of the ringing. My eyes are tired of staring at the wall, dreaming dreams without interpretation. When will the music end? Over and over again. Over and over again. Only to know the
bass line continues throughout that, like the verse, until you get to the bridge. I just love that, even though there are a lot of things happening, but that bass was just consistent, you know. So that's one song I like. Another one is the one you did with Christian McBride.
Cerrado.
No, please don't even bother. That color is not you.
Yeah.
I know you're feeling
Speak the
pretty.
word. Right.
All right. So those two songs. I mean,
he played on that one, Cerrado, as well.
Oh yeah. But I think this one was just he and you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to talk about the music? I know you're working on new music, but the quote unquote old music is still there and it's still doing well. And
I love it.
Yeah.
Music to me, to me, it doesn't feel like it's old.
Yeah.
Especially because the stuff I'm singing about is still happening.
Yes.
But that particular tune is just about complissalts, about people who say
they speak the truth.
Yeah. Well, they're not. Which one? I'm talking about. Which one of the song are you talking about? The one with.
I talked about 2 songs. Truth in Blue.
Okay, Truth in Blue, as I spoke about before we started this podcast.
I should have recorded that. But
should have. I'm just kidding. But it's just about. We understand. We have this idea about lies and how there are shades of lies, white lies, black lies, I guess, that are just the hardcore lies, and the white lies are those little pretty ones that are just not so bad. Just I'll lie for the sake of trying to make this person feel good or spare their feelings. So it's almost like the end justifies the means type of a lie. But I find that people try to do that with truth as well, and it causes them to repeat the same behaviors and stories in their lives over and over again because they have not accepted the truth. And there's only one truth. There is no shade of truth. There is just one truth. That job is not for you. That man is not for you. Or you're better than this. Or that friendship isn't meant to be forever. All those different types of things that we have difficulty accepting the truth about. And so we just keep doing it over and over again, trying to get these different outcomes, trying to find a shade of truth that we can accept. Instead of just the hardcore straight truth. And as long as you keep trying to find shades of truth instead of the actual truth, you're going to be experiencing the same mistakes over again, the same storylines over again, and it's just a waste of time. It's better just to accept the truth, stop looking for, the truth in blue or, or whatever shade or what, something that you can accept better, something that's easier to swallow. Just take it, understand what the truth is, whatever it may be. And move forward. So that's what that tune is about.
Do you want to talk about the other tune?
Which one? The Speak the Word?
Yeah, Speak the Word.
Speak the Word is a fun tune, and I get a chance to tell the audience about a term, complissalt, which is not a real word, but it's a word that is made up, but it's like this combination between a compliment and an insult. And so when people say things that have those double meanings, it kind of throws you for a loop, and sometimes they're saying it because they just want to be nasty. But I find that most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, they really do think that they're giving you a compliment, but they just don't understand that it's not. And when that happens, those are sometimes more difficult because we can't just say, oh, they were a hater or they're just being mean. You don't really know where it was coming from. And so a lot of times we're bothered by those types of comments more than others. Oh, you're so much better than you were the last show I saw you. Like, you're just like, what is that? Okay, thank you. Like,
that's even a good one.
Right.
I would take that and run with
but
it
you know
now.
what I mean? Like, but it all depends on the delivery as well. Like, or, anything. You've put on a little weight, since I saw you last time, but you still look really good. Like, that kind of stuff is like, what? I'm like, oh, so you just kind of, and when you're out there giving your soul as a performer, and someone has some compliment to say to you like that, you must feel like, dang, I just poured out my entire being, and that's what they gathered. That's what they needed to bring forth in comments. But you just have to not really let it get to you and leave it alone, and just realize that.
And write a song about it.
Or write a song about it. But that's kind of, you got to let it go for the purpose of having room and space for positivity when it does come your way.
Definitely.
Or you'll be full of just all that negativity, and then you can't really open up for that positive comment or experience because you're too busy obsessing about that negative thing.
So you worked with Christian McBride. He's a big name in jazz.
He is.
How did
I will
that
say
happen?
this as a side note.
A
lot of my songs are not about love.
Oh, okay.
These songs that we're talking about are not. They're about.
It could all be about love. What's wrong with it?
Not that it is, but I'm saying I have the things that I want to talk about are actually some. For me, they're things that I think ruminate inside of the minds of the individuals, but they don't necessarily put words and music to it. Like accepting the truth about a situation, dealing with negativity and leaving yourself open for positivity.
Yeah.
Or growing old and valuing the time that you have, but also not overvaluing it to the point where you look back on it and that's the golden time and you can't appreciate the now. Like, these are issues that, these are human experiences that we're talking about.
See, I'm the other way around. I'm trying to write more love songs. I'm just
me too.
I'm just like
me too, but
all my songs are like, today is your day.
Right. Look, I'm with you. My newer songs that I've written, well, one of the new songs, I didn't write this one, but I arranged it. I did a little bit of arranging on it, but one of my students actually wrote the song, and it's about, that time in your life when you're moving from one phase to the next and you're transforming into a new being, but you haven't gotten there yet, and how vulnerable and fragile you are in the in-between. And not to think, I can't wait till I get to the next phase of my life, but to actually appreciate that little transition time, that little transitory period, because it's the time you're the most susceptible to connecting to other people. It's the time you're the most vulnerable, you're the most open, because you haven't been solidified in whatever that next phase of your life is. Like, that's like not about love, but it's about being human.
Yes.
So
that's how I feel.
Yeah.
But
I did write a new song recently that will be on the next project about love.
Okay.
We did it at Birdland, I think. Oh. It was about being separated from yes.
Okay.
Being separated from somebody based on circumstances that are outside of your control. You don't know if you're going to get back together now. You don't know. Really, you don't know nothing anyway. Yeah. So all you could do is wait and just see what happens. Awesome. And appreciate what you had when you had it, and just keep moving in whatever direction life is taking you in, even if it's in the opposite direction of the person that you love. So, I'm working on the love. I'm working on it. But it's hard for me just to be like really simple with because love to me is it's simple in a sense, but it's also has its complicating sides as well.
Now, before we continue, I noticed that we didn't get to clarify where your name came from for the Nigerians.
Yes. Olatuja came from my previous marriage. Well, not previous. I'm not currently married either, but my ex-husband is an amazing bass player, an individual named Michael Olatuja, and his name is Nigerian because he is actually Nigerian.
Nigerian, okay.
When we parted ways as a romantic couple, but not as like friends or musical collaborators, because we always have that. Okay. I kept the name, one, because people already knew me in the New York. No one knew me in the New York scene and in the non-classical scene as outside of Olatuja. Yeah. So that's one. And also, two, it happened. That relationship happened. That marriage happened. It was important to me. Just because it's not where I am now doesn't mean that it isn't as important as any other experience in my life. And it's not worth erasing, acting like it didn't happen, when where I stand right now is a product of that. Definitely. So I have no problems keeping that name. Yeah. Okay. It's a part of my story in a sense. But I am not Nigerian.
It's okay. We'll keep claiming you.
Right. Yay!
We'll keep claiming you. All right. So I asked you for an embarrassing story, but it seemed like you don't have one because you say you never get embarrassed.
No. Well, you know what? I mean, there were some bad musical moments, like when I was younger and I sang and I cracked and I held out a note that was also cracking. Yeah. But I was more angry than embarrassed, I think. That was the emotion, the actual emotion. I'm sure there have been times when I was really embarrassed.
Don't stress about it. Don't worry about it.
I guess for me, usually embarrassing stories are so funny that they're no longer embarrassing. They're just
at everything. Funny. You laugh to the point. You always laugh at, like me too, I kind of giggle a little bit.
I just don't take myself seriously enough to be embarrassed about anything.
Like sometimes when you laugh at certain things, I feel like I'm doing something totally wrong, and you don't know how this will mean to me.
Not at all. Usually, when you're doing something or saying something that I'm laughing at, I'm not laughing at you. One, I'm laughing at that thing, and two, I'm laughing because I'm enjoying it. Laughing for me is a source of enjoyment. Nice. If I'm not laughing when I'm not happy, and not laughing when I'm not enjoying something. If I'm enjoying you, an aspect of your personality, a mannerism, a way you may say something, it registers in laughter. For me.
I see.
So it means I'm enjoying you. Yeah. I have other students where I laugh. I don't laugh when they like make a horrible mistake unless it's so bad that they are laughing too, which I've experienced. Like they'll be like, "Oh God," like they'll crack or something, and we will have a good laugh about it because who cares?
Yeah.
This is where it's supposed to happen. But I have had other situations where somebody will say something and I'll start laughing. They'll be like, "What's so funny?" I'm like, nothing. Let's continue. Because I'm enjoying their individuality.
I felt like that once. Because there was one day I was going to be late. And I called you. I'm like, Alicia, I'm going to be late. All right. And you busted out laughing. I'm like, what is funny?
I guarantee you the way you said it was different than the way you just said it now. I guarantee you said it in some way.
I think
some form. And it was just funny. Your delivery is also funny. Like sometimes people's delivery, and it doesn't mean it's funny in general.
Yeah.
It might just be funny to me.
To you. I see.
Because I find people to be fascinating and worthy of enjoyment. You know, you don't have to dance and try to be funny and flip around and do backflips. I can observe you as a human being that's different from myself and find it fascinating. It's part of being a Gemini. It's part of being who I am. I mean, this is kind of what we are. We love to look at people and discern and kind of see through them in a sense. Not that they're transparent, but just we look into people and enjoy them for their unique things.
I have more questions, but we are running out of time.
We are.
So I just want to do a quick fun session. This part of the podcast, I call it turn up and mute. Sometimes it's turn up or mute, but this one is turn up and mute. Just for the moment, all right? I'll give you two things. You turn it up, you turn one up, and you mute the other. And this is just for now. It doesn't mean you mute it forever. Maybe when you step outside, you could turn the other one up. All right? A little bit difficult. You'll see. Jesse Norman and Christian McBride. Turn up and mute. Which one would you turn up now? Which one would you mute?
Oh, that's hard. Turn up or mute?
Turn up and mute. You turn one up. You turn one up and you mute the other. This moment, how you feeling this moment? Nothing
Jesse
against the person you mute.
Or Chris McBride, turn up or mute or mute. Maybe I would mute Jesse Norman.
Okay. Good answer.
But if you had said Leontine Price, I would have said turn up.
Oh, I was going to say Jesse Norman or Leontine Price, but I thought
Leontine Price will always be the turn up.
Turn up.
I don't care who it is. I'll turn her up and mute myself.
All right. Jersey City and Brooklyn.
That's not fair.
That's not fair.
I lived in Brooklyn for
difficult.
10 years.
Wow.
I lived here for 10 months. But the rent is cheaper and I'm closer to Manhattan. So I'll go ahead and say Jersey City, turn up.
Turn it up. All right.
But I'm always going to be a Brooklyn girl.
Truth in Blue and Speak the Word.
How you going to use my own songs?
Alicia is the game.
This game sucks. Well,
now, just how you're feeling now. Think about how you're feeling at this point.
Maybe Truth in Blue, turn up. I like my background vocals on that one.
Nice.
Go mute my own tune.
Alicia Olatuja, thank you so much for...
Oh, we're done with the game. Yeah. Thank God. I was like, how much...
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And I hope we can do this again.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah.
Of course we can. Next time, you just, hopefully won't have any train issues. And
okay. Thank you so much. Later. Bye.
Across my lifetime, from when my heart began to beat, I hear your voice shake me gently, healing me inside. But get me out into the nighttime. No, you won't hold me tonight. saw the apple, said let me take a bite. If they say why, tell them that it's human nature. Why do we do him that way? If they say why, tell them that it's human nature. Why do we do him that way? Do I do him that way? Reaching out to touch a stranger, accusing eyes everywhere. Sees that girl and knows they're watching, and lifts away herself, looking out across the morning. Here I return again to see, reaching out to hold me closely. Now I live and breathe. If they say why, tell them that it's in his nature. Why does he love me that way? If they say why, ooh, tell them why does he love me that way? He loves me that way. He loves me that way. They say why, if they say why, if they say why.